The laptop didn't belong to me. I knew that the moment it turned on and recognized something it shouldn't have. At first I thought it was just an old machine, forgotten, misplaced, harmless. But then the screen flickered and a folder opened on its own. Inside was a video already playing. A man sat in a dim room, staring straight ahead, his face pale, his eyes hollow. And then slowly he turned toward the camera, not confused, not surprised, like he knew it was there, like he had been waiting. That's when I realized something that made my blood run cold. This wasn't just a forgotten laptop. It was watching people. And somehow it had been hiding in my house all along.
Welcome to my YouTube channel Whisper Stories, where silence speaks.
My name is Daniel. I'm 60 years old and I've lived long enough to know that some discoveries don't knock politely. They break down your door and demand to be seen. That morning started like any other, quiet, ordinary, safe, and that's exactly why I didn't see it coming. I had been cleaning out the attic. At my age, you start doing that more often, not because you enjoy it, but because you realize time has a way of turning your life into a collection of boxes. Some filled with memories, others with things you forgot you ever owned. My house had grown too quiet over the years, no wife, no children, just me, the ticking clock, and the soft creaks of an aging home that sometimes felt more alive than I was. I wasn't always alone. But life has a way of rewriting your plans without asking for permission. That day I decided I'd finally clear out the last corner of the attic, the one I had avoided for years. Not out of fear, but out of reluctance. There are some things you don't touch because you know they'll remind you of who you used to be. Dust filled the air as I opened old boxes, yellowed letters, broken picture frames, a few books I never finished. The usual artifacts of a life that had slowly shifted into silence. Then I found it, a small black laptop, old, scratched, almost forgotten beneath a pile of cloth and papers. At first it didn't seem like anything special, just another piece of outdated technology. I almost tossed it into the discard pile, but something made me stop. Maybe it was the weight of it. Maybe it was the fact that I didn't remember owning it, or maybe it was just instinct. And at 60 I've learned not to ignore those. I wiped off the dust and carried it downstairs. The laptop didn't turn on at first, dead battery I figured, so I plugged it in and waited. That's the thing about old machines, they make you slow down. They don't rush for anyone. While it charged, I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table, staring at it like it might suddenly explain itself. I tried to remember, had it belonged to me, to someone else, a friend, a guest? A past version of my life I'd locked away? Nothing came to mind, and that bothered me more than it should have. After a few minutes the screen flickered to life. The startup sound echoed faintly in the quiet room, and then a password screen. Of course, I leaned back in my chair. Well, I muttered to myself, that's the end of that. I should have left it alone, packed it away again, thrown it out, but curiosity is a stubborn thing. I tried a few passwords, nothing. Then I tried something I hadn't thought about in years, an old date, one that used to mean something. The screen paused for a moment and then unlocked. My chest tightened. That wasn't luck, that meant something. I didn't recognize the desktop at all. No familiar files, no personal photos. No signs that it had ever belonged to me. Instead, there were folders, dozens of them, all neatly organized, all labeled with dates. That's when I felt it, that quiet shift in the air, the kind that tells you something isn't right. Still, I clicked one. Inside were videos, dozens of them, short clips, some only a few seconds long. Others several minutes. I hesitated, then I pressed play. The video opened to a dimly lit room, a living room, not mine, but familiar. I leaned closer. Camera angle was strange, high, almost hidden, like it wasn't meant to be seen. Then someone walked into the frame. Man, middle-aged, tired-looking. He sat down, rubbed his face, and stared at nothing. I didn't know him, but something about the scene made my stomach twist. I skipped to another video, another house, another person, different angles, different rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, hallways, always the same pattern, hidden camera, unaware subjects. My hands started to shake. I whispered. I clicked another. And another, dozens of people, all being recorded, without their knowledge. That's when the fear set in, real fear. The kind that doesn't shout, it sinks in slowly like cold water. I wasn't just looking at old files. I was looking at something wrong, something illegal, something deliberate. I pushed my chair back and stood up. This isn't mine, I said out loud, as if saying it would make it true, but the laptop was in my house, in my attic, hidden among my things. That connection alone made my chest tight. I needed answers, and I knew exactly where to go. The tech repair shop was a small place downtown, nothing fancy. Just a narrow store with blinking lights and shelves full of cables and devices. I had been there a few times over the years. The man who ran it, quiet, observant, always focused, looked up as I walked in. He said, "Been a while." "Yeah," I replied, placing the laptop on the counter. "I need you to take a look at this." Nodded and opened it. "Old machine," he said. "What's the issue?" I hesitated, then I told him not everything, just enough. His expression didn't change at first. He clicked through the folders, watched a few clips, paused, then watched another. That's when I saw it, the shift, subtle but unmistakable. His jaw tightened, his posture stiffened, and then he slowly closed the laptop. He looked at me, really looked at me, and said something I'll never forget. "Call the police, now." The words didn't register at first. I blinked. "What, call the police?" he repeated, quieter this time. Right now a chill ran down my spine. "What is it?" I asked. He shook his head slightly. "I can't explain everything," he said, "but this isn't just someone recording people." He paused. "There are faces in those videos I recognize." Heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He leaned in slightly. "Some of those people, they've been reported missing." The room felt like it tilted. "That's not possible," I said. "I'm telling you what I know," he replied. "I've seen local reports, news bulletins, a couple of those faces, they disappeared months ago." Mouth went dry. I thought back to the videos, the tired man, the empty stares, the silence. "Are you sure?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, then he nodded. "Call the police, Daniel." I don't remember dialing, I don't remember what I said, but within an hour everything changed. Officers arrived, questions were asked, the laptop was taken, and my quiet life was no longer quiet. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Apparently this wasn't just a random discovery. It was a piece of something bigger, something darker. The police came back the next day, and the day after that they asked about the attic, about anyone who had access to my house, about my past. That last part surprised me. "Past?" I asked. "Yes," one officer said. "Anyone who might have used your property, former tenants, guests, workers." I thought hard, then something surfaced. Memory I hadn't touched in years. There had been a man, a tenant, about 8 years ago, quiet, kept to himself, paid on time, never caused trouble. His name, I froze. I hadn't thought about him in so long, but now it came back clearly. And suddenly everything felt connected. The police tracked him down, or rather, what was left of his trail. Fake name, fake documents, gone without a trace. But the laptop had stayed behind, hidden, forgot, or maybe left intentionally. Weeks passed, the case grew. More victims were identified, more connections uncovered. It turned out those videos weren't just recordings, they were surveillance, planning, tracking. Every clip was a piece of something much worse. And somehow that laptop had ended up in my attic. One evening I sat alone in my living room, the same quiet, the same ticking clock. But everything felt different now, heavier. I thought about how close I had come to throwing it away, to ignoring it, to walking past it like it didn't matter. And how many truths would have stayed buried if I had. At 60 years old, you think you've seen enough of life to understand it. You think the surprises are behind you. But I learned something that day, something I'll carry for the rest of my life. The truth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it hides in dusty corners, waiting for someone willing to look. And when you find it, you don't always get to choose what happens next. Moral: never ignore your instincts, no matter how small or inconvenient they seem. What feels like a minor curiosity today could uncover a truth that changes lives tomorrow. Courage isn't about being fearless, it's about choosing to act, even when you're afraid.